Hi, I'm Zoe Desmond, the founder of Frolo, the award-winning app for single parents that features both community and dating modes. And I'm also co-author, along with my wonderful friend Rebecca Cox that I made through Frolo, of the book How to Be a Happy Single Parent. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Frolo podcast. And today I am so excited to be joined by the fantastic Anna Mathur, who is a psychotherapist, bestselling author, podcast host of the Therapy Edit, which has over 3 million downloads, and mental health advocate and mother to 3 children. Anna, that's probably the longest description of any podcast guest I've ever had on. It's so brilliant to have you join me on the Frolo podcast. I've been really looking forward to having the opportunity to chat with you for quite some time.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. No, we got to meet the other day, which is always really lovely to meet in real life. But I've been so grateful to be able to send people towards your amazing community. Like what an incredible community and resource you've created. So
thank you so much, Anna. I really appreciate that, and I'm always so grateful for any signposting that people can do to Frolo, and especially when it's coming from, you know, a kind of psychotherapist and mental health advocate like you, and that you recognize the importance of what Frolo is about and the mental health benefits from people joining a community like Frolo. But yeah, we met at Zoe from the Motherkind's book launch couple of weeks ago, and it was so lovely. It's so strange, isn't it, when you meet someone in real life for the first time? And I kind of shyly went up to you, and you were just so warm and lovely and kind, and we had a great chat. And yes. So I mean, where to start? I guess the place that I always start, because it's the place that I think is a really interesting place to give context. How did you end up in this work that you're doing? Where did it all start?
So I trained as a therapist in a really kind of normal way that you imagine, you know, a therapy room with a box of tissues and 2 glasses of water and, you know, tell me about your childhood, and just connecting dots, listening to people, being with people, hearing them, sharing some insight. And I worked in private practice, I worked in GP surgeries, all the kind of normal classic settings. And then after I'd had my second child, I went through postnatal depression, postnatal anxiety. He had silent reflux, and it was just like such an acute challenge that really took me to the end of myself. And as a bit of escapism, we were moving house, and I downloaded Instagram, and I started looking at interior design stuff on there. And I started sharing a bit about the design choices we were making, because we were moving into a white box new build house. You know, when you just look at it and you think, I don't even know where to start. So that was my foray into Instagram, was interior design. And then once I'd done that and I'd chosen the paint colors and all of those things, I remember doing an Instagram live, because it was when it just begun. Instagram Lives had just been launched, and I showed people around my house that had been following along that journey, because there's a whole community, just like you champion this in your community. There are communities for everything on Instagram, isn't it? Amazing how whatever nuanced experience you have in parenting or motherhood or moving into a new build house, there are people there doing it too and sharing their journey. So that was my following, basically. It was people moving into new houses. And I remember someone on this live saying, what do you actually do for a job? And I said, I'm a psychotherapist. And then someone said, well, do you have any tips for anxiety? Do you have any tips for this challenge that I'm going through? And I was like, yeah, I do. Here we go. And I just shared some tips and tools. And to be honest, that's really where it started. And slowly my account became less about paint colors and lamp choices and more about just sharing tips and tools, but also along with my own story, because I don't need to have shame about my own experiences of mental health, because I understand a bit more about the what and the why and what to do next. So I often kind of, put my psychotherapeutic knowledge on top of my own story. And that's kind of where it started. And then it just went from there.
It's funny because, that was exactly the way, really, that was the beginning of Frolo as well. It was gathering this community that really took off on an Instagram page first and foremost, and then transferred over to the app when it launched. And you're absolutely right. It is, you can really find anything that whatever community you're interested in connecting to. And what led you to becoming a psychotherapist? Was there anything that, why were you
What led me
called
there?
to do this work?
Because I wanted to help people. I went through a lot of kind of trauma as a child. So we lost my sister to cancer when I was a child, when I was actually as old as my son is now. He's nearly 10. And my way of coping with the grief and the pain that was around me was just to be helpful. I wanted to be nice and good and helpful. And it was also just massive distraction on my own pain. It was like helping others. So I was always that girl that everyone turned to, like at school and then beyond. And that was the role that I took in my relationships, was being the support, being the help. And I think, there'll be so many people in your community who've had that role. And then when stuff gets tough for you, then it can be a huge challenge to allow other people to be there for you. So I took the helping people friendship role, to the next level of training as a therapist. So if I was going to help everyone, I could do it really, really well. And also, when you're sitting in a therapy room, you can be you and your stuff's quite safe because you're not talking about that. You're talking about other people's things, and it makes you feel helpful. So I found that really validating. But it's only when, things got really challenging in my own life, did I needed the help that I so freely gave everyone else. And I found that really, really hard. So my desire to become a therapist really was, I think, born out of just avoidance of my own emotional stuff.
I love your honesty.
Yeah.
And I mean, and there's, I want to explore that a bit more in a minute. But then at what point did you kind of realize, okay, it's time to hone in on what I've been avoiding?
Let people be there for me, which was really, really hard. And, I think there are so many of us, and there will be people listening to this, who you get to a point where you're like, I can't do this on my own. And there are people in your community parenting on their own, probably getting to that point of, there is so much coming at me, so much need, so much responsibility. But there is also so much trauma and challenge and emotion that comes with, single parenting, or finding yourself kind of maybe unexpectedly in that place. Or for me, with a child that just did not stop screaming, and a toddler who was being a toddler, and me amidst it all, just waving that flag of like, don't worry about me, I'm fine, I've got this. And actually just being really humbled by my situation, where I did not have this anymore, and I couldn't pretend that I had this and that I could do this on my own. And I even my partner, I wouldn't let him be helpful and supportive, and he was there, so I wouldn't even let the people that were physically there for me help me. And it was a point of just being so broken that I couldn't hold that I've got this sign up anymore. Don't worry about me, I've got this, because I was worried about me and I didn't have this. And then, for me, that was the real turning point of needing that, of knowing that I needed people. I really needed people. And despite the fact that I was a therapist and I knew that needing people wasn't failure, for me, I really had to challenge that quite deep narrative that everyone else deserves help, everyone else needs it, but I have to meet all my own needs. So yeah, it was really challenging, letting people in and letting people be there for me, and finding a different role for myself that didn't just only look like the one that was there for everyone else. It challenged my identity and my sense of self, and yeah, everything that I thought I was good for.
When you speak about the avoidance, I definitely, I'm becoming more and more aware of whenever I have an uncomfortable thought, and I want to delve into your new book, The Uncomfortable Truth, because I think it probably all links up. But, I find myself reaching without even thinking about it, just reaching for my phone, and suddenly without even knowing that I've opened up my phone and I'm doing and it's like my brain isn't even, it's not even there. I'm not in the room. I'm just it's just complete, make this go away, make this thought go away. I don't, and it's scary, being in this. And I talk to other people about it as well, other, close friends in my life. And, it does seem to be something that we all do.
Absolutely.
And and I guess the world that we live in today as well, with social media and devices, it's, makes it even more challenging to step away from that. But yeah, I actually just started this week. I'm in my about 1,000th attempt to start meditating.
Brilliant.
So I mean, look, it's been many years of failed attempts and not being consistent with it. But I really notice that. I just really notice that when I try and stop and be present, the amount of junk going on in my head, and not necessarily junk, just noise and thoughts. But
so much.
So
well done.
So I just, I don't know. Let's see. I'm on day 2.
Going. So. And I always think all of the, like, we can so easily be like all or nothing about these things. And I think when we are all or nothing about it, and maybe you go a couple of days without meditating and you're just like, oh, I can't do it. What's the point? I'm not, when actually I always encourage people to think of, more of the time, not all of the time. Like, don't beat yourself up on the days that you don't, or the days that you do 2 minutes, or the days that you're just, you're just thinking about the shopping list and you can't get away from that. Just, more of the time, not all of the time. Otherwise we just beat ourselves up, and then it becomes, guilt fuels.
That's exactly it. Because then I was like, oh my God, I think meditation is making me feel even worse, because now I feel like I'm not doing this properly and I've got too much noise going on. So it feeds into the negative self-chat that goes on, going, oh, maybe it's easier if I don't do it, because then I don't need to be aware of how crap I am at meditating. So all of
those thoughts and realizing that, I think what meditation does, it just gives space for thoughts that are already there. And if you jump to criticism so quickly in not being the perfect meditator, then that's probably an insight into that dynamic that shows up in other areas of your life as well. So it just brings things to the surface. It allows thoughts and feelings to breathe. And I think you're right. We reach our phones because it's a way of shutting down. It's a way of numbing. It's a way of escaping. But what happens then is that we stop trusting that we can withstand emotion, because we never let it go the full cycle. And a cycle of emotion is a bit like a labor contraction. It comes, we feel it coming, like, oh my gosh, I feel like overwhelmed, or oh man, I feel lonely. Quick, stop it before it reaches the peak. And then we check out of it. And what we don't experience is that, yes, it peaks like a contraction, but then it also subsides and it moves through us. And emotions are productive because when we feel them, we're releasing something, we're letting go of something. But when we stop it, we literally halt it, and it's not moved through us. It's often then within us. So meditation and just slowing down and giving that breathing space that we don't get when we just pick up our phones and every little space that arises, it's just showing you that you can feel that frustration. You can feel that wave of perfectionism. You can feel the boredom. You can feel the busy mind, and you can cope with it.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
Yeah. And it does make such a difference. Like, I feel even worse if I've just wasted, 20 minutes,
Yeah.
half an hour
We don't
scrolling.
feel
I mean,
good, do
that
we?
makes me feel
We know we don't feel
awful.
good. We
Yeah.
don't feel
I
good.
mean, but I would love to chat about your new book, and huge congratulations. Your book,
Thank you.
The Uncomfortable Truth, which when did it? I think it's
So it's just
come
out.
out.
So as we're recording
Yeah.
this, it's not even been out a week.
Wow.
Yeah, so that feels wild. Having it out in the world and in people's hands, and knowing that people are reading it after it's
I
been
can't wait to
behind
read
the
it.
scenes. I can't wait for you to read it. And actually, Zoe,
I am
I talk about meditation in there. There's a case study that I think
okay.
you'll love. So I share the story of this guy, and he has found meditation. He's found it to be incredibly helpful. But then what he talks about that I think you'll love is how it's not necessarily all about the sitting down for like 10, 20 minutes. He talks about meditative moments. He talks about moments. He talks about this moment he was standing in a queue, and he was just noticing. You can hear my kids in the background. Don't worry, there is a grown up with them. They're not just running wild if you can hear them.
Yeah.
It's the summer juggle. And he talks about this moment in a queue where he just looks at the couple in front of him, the old couple, like holding hands. And he says, I just felt this beautiful moment of just observing that. And he talks about when he's in the pub with his mates, and he just catches sight of his friend's hand on the pint glass, and his kind of weathered worker's hands, and just the condensation on the edge of the pint glass. And he was just saying about these little moments of just noticing and being present that punctuate his day. So I just thought that was really beautiful, because I think often we put so much pressure on ourselves to be present and this kind of really intense demand, when actually it's also just about those little moments of noticing.
Absolutely.
And I loved that. So maybe more of
Yeah.
that as well for you, just those little moments.
Totally. And actually, I have a really close friend of mine is brilliant at meditating. I mean, she's been committed to it for years, but she has, whenever I spend time with her, I notice that she's much more just observant in the world, where she's like, look, look at that beautiful flower. And I'm like, wow, yeah, that is gorgeous.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, I'm trying to figure out what I haven't done on my list for the day before that's going to come back and haunt me, So yeah, that does sound like a case study that I'm interested to read. So what does the uncomfortable truth mean?
Yeah.
And what's it about?
So the uncomfortable truth, it's really an invitation to find ways to live with the discomfort. As you were talking about, when we have feelings, it's so easy to kind of grab our phones to just not think about it. But we know that all of the things we worry about, we know the uncertainty that we struggle with, we can never kind of fully escape it, no matter how quickly we grab our phones, or how many glasses of wine we down, or how much Netflix we absorb and just kind of numb out to. We know that we struggle with the fact that bad things happen. The number of us, either through parenting or relationships or just kind of life circumstances, who feel that sense of, man, this hasn't turned out as I expected it would. Bad things happen. Things go differently to how we plan. There are unexpected circumstances and life curveballs, and we hurt each other, and we get hurt, and we lose the things we love, and the circumstances we expected would maybe look differently. And it's all about, how can we live with the discomfort that bad things happen, that we lose people, that we hurt people, that people hurt us, whilst also just living as fully and wholeheartedly and intentionally as possible. And the first chapter, so some of the uncomfortable truths are, for example, some people don't like you. That's not a failing necessarily. It's just the fact that we're all complex humans living alongside each other, and we're not going to be everyone's cup of tea. So that's one of them. I will fail. Bad things happen. I'll lose people I love. I'll hurt people I love. All of these uncomfortable truths that are just true about life. And if we can find more acceptance of the fact that some people won't like us, for example, then we're going to be less exhausted and driven by people pleasing and perfectionism and just trying to get it right all the time, which we're never going to. So it's about acceptance of these uncomfortable uncertainties of life and finding freedom and confidence and joy alongside them rather than in denial of them.
It sounds like it's a full circle moment for you from where you started from with the, avoidance to now releasing a book about the uncomfortable truth. And that's so amazing to turn your pain into purpose. I really, really respect that.
Frolo is the app that several thousand single parents say has been life-changing for them in the most profound way. If you're a single parent and want to connect with other single parents and open yourself up to an amazing support network and new experiences, then the Frolo app is the one for you. The Frolo app has 2 modes: community mode for meetups and holidays, guidance and support, chats, and discovery to make it easy to find like-minded local single parents near you. Dating mode is a mindful, safe, and respectful dating offering where everybody is there to date another single parent. The Frolo app is free to download and use, with the option to upgrade to premium for access to lots of additional premium features for an elevated experience, which makes it easier than ever to access the incredible connections and experiences you are looking for. To download Frolo, search for Frolo, Frolo, on the App or Google Play Store, or go to www.frolo.com for more info. We can't wait to see you on the app soon.
Well, thank you. And I think, I was talking to my mum the other day. We were talking about the last 2 chapters, which are the big ones. But I promise I deal with them so gently. It's I will lose people I love and I will die. And these are 2 certainties, right, that we cannot escape as humans. But I think we often try our very best to. But these uncomfortable things, they're already uncomfortable. They get into our anxieties and our nightmares. We're not stirring things up that weren't already in us and in our minds and in our dreams. And my mum was saying something, and I think this is so helpful for people, in your community that are finding themselves like just walking through challenges that they didn't expect in their lives. And she said, we talk a lot about post-trauma. We talk a lot about just those hard times. But what we don't talk about enough is post-traumatic growth. What we don't talk about enough is that actually, if we can really feel those feelings and let people support us, then there can be immense change and growth that comes. Like I bet, Zoe, you probably never realized at one point in your life that you would be, sharing so powerfully and championing, such an incredible community. And I just think, there's so much growth.
That is I absolutely love that post-traumatic growth. And that's exactly what I guess there is always an opportunity, isn't there, to turn pain into purpose. And when this whole journey, Frolo journey, single parent journey began for me, I mean, it was at the lowest moment. It was like my worst kind of, fear at the time coming true. But now I just feel like it's given me it's been the biggest gift. It really has been the biggest gift from a personal growth perspective, and being able to provide what I needed for myself and then for other people going through the same, because there's meaning. What are we here for if there's not meaning in all of it somewhere?
Absolutely. And one of the chapters is actually called, things aren't fair. There's so much unfairness. And I think we can really, it's okay to have a patch of time where you think, why has this happened to me? This shouldn't have happened to me. But if we get stuck there, if you'd have got stuck there in that mentality of this isn't fair, like feeling like a victim to the world, which things aren't fair. These things, there are things that happen to us that shouldn't happen to us, and people treat us in ways that they shouldn't, but it does happen. But if we get stuck in that victim mentality of like, this shouldn't have happened to me, it shouldn't have been like this, then we lessen that opportunity for the growth and for the powerful stuff that comes out of it. Because life isn't fair. I mean, the good stuff, some of the good stuff that happens to us isn't about fairness either. Some of that's about luck.
So true.
So yeah, it's opening up. It's thinking, right, yeah, this isn't fair, but what I'm open to good that can come out of it. And it can be both.
Absolutely. I'm thinking about, you're obviously a mom of 3 kids. My son Billy has just turned 8, and there's lots of uncomfortable truths that come up for him. Yeah. So, he gets worried that, if I have a cough, he's worried. He's like, I'm worried, I'm worried you're going to die, or, he's, and yeah, I guess as he gets a bit older, just that realization that, even people he loves aren't around forever. And, I think it all kicked off with when his dad's dog, who'd been around since he was born, died. And I think that was, the first kind of realization of life isn't fair. Nothing, there's an impermanence. Any tips or suggestions on how we support our kids with the uncomfortable truths as well?
Yeah, I think we can so want to rush to completely like reassure them 100%, right? Like, I promise you I'm never going to leave you. I promise you that, I'll be old and grey when I die. I promise you that you'll, like, you won't be living here. You'll be older, and you may even have a family of your own. Like, and we want to promise them, don't we? And we know that when we're feeling anxious and nervous and worried, that there's a bit of that child inside of us that wants someone to come and put their hands on our shoulders and promise us that it's all going to be okay. But we know that that's not the truth.
So it's such a tough
so
one.
Hard,
so I'm so curious as to what you're gonna say, because that is the natural.
Yeah, I know. So just saying, I really, I feel you. I worry about these things too. I worry that I'll lose people I love. I'll worry that something might happen to you. But right now, I am healthy. I am okay. This is just a cough. I am here. We are loved. We have support around us. People go through all different kinds of challenges, and it's very unlikely. But even if the worst happened, you'd be all right. We'd be okay. And I think it's just, instead of trying to squash those feelings as we so often want to do for ourselves with our phone grabbing, it's like just sitting with them in that and doing that kind of really realistic reassurance of, it's so unlikely that something will happen to me. But it's not impossible, because sad things happen, but also wonderful things happen, and great things are happening. Like, we're together and this is wonderful. And I'm so grateful that you're being honest with me about the worries that you have. We want to take that pain away for them. We want to take that anxiety away for them. But the more we can sit with it in ourselves through, the meditation that you're exploring, or just allowing that wave of feeling to pass instead of numbing it or halting it, stopping it in its tracks, the more we're able to sit with our kids as they learn to ride those waves too. And we can sit beside them as that wave subsides, as he goes from that feeling of anxiety to that feeling of safety again.
When we met each other at Zoe from the Motherkind's book launch, we spoke about burnout. And for sure, I have definitely feel like I've been in and out of what feels like a cyclical burnout, which I think so many people experience. And I think you have experienced burnout yourself.
Yeah.
And I know that single parents, obviously, it's a big thing within the single parent community, because just the sheer load. So I'm just wondering if you've got any guidance on dealing with burnout, or how to kind of avoid it, or how to navigate through it, or how to be more mindful of the things that might create it.
Yeah. So I think burnout happens when we push through the limits of our resources over and over and over again. And we all know that sometimes circumstances find people having to push through tiredness and push through that feeling of like, I can't do this, I haven't got it in the tank. And, you know, so often we think, I can't do this, and then we do it. But it doesn't mean that we should totally ignore that flag that pops up in us and goes, you're really done here. Like, you need more than you have. And it's really challenging because as a single parent, you know, a lot of that is circumstance. Like, the buck stops with you. You are the parent that is called upon. There is no one to tap out to at points. So some of it is circumstantial. And I think the most important thing is thinking about what are the extras that are being layered on here. So I think we've got the circumstantial burnout, where circumstances just find you pushing and pushing, and maybe there isn't the support that you need. So maybe thinking about some of those more logistical, practical things. Are there people around me that have offered to help? But actually I find it, in a way that I was talking about earlier, you know, really hard just to accept people's help, because there's a narrative that I have around that says, I should be doing this better. I should be able to do this on my own. Other people do it, therefore I should be able to do it. So there's the circumstance, but also then there's that extra of like, where am I being perfectionistic here? Where am I applying too much pressure? Where are the standards that I set and maybe that other people have learned to accept and expect of me are just too high, unsustainable? Where might I cut corners? Where might I just address that internal dialogue that is so constantly critical and bullying, to cultivate a, you know, more kinder, compassionate, human dialogue? Where can I amend those expectations so that they are accounting for my limits and my humanness? So I think, there are circumstantial factors in burnout sometimes, and but there can be things that stop us from getting that support that we need. And it can be perfectionism. It can be that critical internal dialogue. It can be the fact that you find it hard to nurture those relationships to get to a point where you feel like you can accept that support. And that's all possible.
Yeah, I am terrible at asking for support as well. Terrible. Like I really would struggle with just asking someone for help. And I have a friend who I met through Frolo, a really close friend, and she is a solo mom to three boys and has no family support around her because she's an expat. And so, you know, if anyone's, and she, you know, works a really, really pressurized job full time as well. So, you know, if anyone is a candidate for burnout, she is it. But what I respect so much about her, well, I respect so many things about her, but one of the things I respect so much about her is that when she needs it, she'll just pick up the phone and she goes, okay, I could do, you know, one of the kids is sick, can't leave the house. If you have an opportunity just to swing by Tesco and pop over, you know, some bread and milk, and think, you know, I'd really appreciate it. And I just love the directness of what she needs, because it's so good being able to show up for her how she needs it.
Yeah.
And also it's, you know, why be a martyr? She's looking after kind of 3 kids and, you know, by herself. So yeah, I think we all need to be a bit more like her.
Absolutely. And it can feel so hard. I think if there's a real fear of people saying that it's too much, you're burdening me, I can't I can't do that for you. Stop, and maybe people pulling away because they feel that you're just another demand coming at them. And I think that fear can often be fueled by the fact that maybe we haven't had healthy boundaries. So we've said yes to people that when we haven't had capacity. So we've done it with a resentment, or we've felt hurt when other people haven't seen the needs that we have without us asking. Maybe we've helped them and we're having a hard time, but they don't seem to realize we're having a hard time because we're not actually being honest about it. I know.
Yeah.
But, people can only say no. People can say no. And that's not proof that you shouldn't have asked.
100%. And she has asked me things that I just haven't been able to do, like to pick her kids up for school. And I've been at a meeting at the other side of London, so I haven't been able to do it. But, what I love about her as well is that she doesn't, there's nothing personal.
Again. Yeah.
It's not, she asks again. And it's like, no problem. I'll go somewhere, and it's as simple as that.
I love this because she's not taking your no as a rejection or an abandonment.
No, she doesn't.
And I'm thinking, I'm never asking Zoe for help again. She can't be there for me. I'm too much for her. And I absolutely, I love that. And also, you're not saying yes when really it's a no. You're not thinking, oh gosh, I have to do this to maintain the relationship. I'm going to leave this meeting early. I'm going to do it resentfully. I'm going to tear around, be stressed. I'm going to turn up the school gates when I feel like I can't really be there. And you're saying no when it's a no, and then a wholehearted yes. And I think that's, this also there's a lot of this in the book, is like when we say a wholehearted yes, that doesn't come with that resentment. It's such a gift to the relationship, and take a leaf out of her book for sure. Learn from her as you find yourself inspired by that. Think, okay, I'm going to try next time to put myself out there. And I'm going to know that if it's a no, it's not a rejection of who I am.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, I will. And it is, I guess as parents, we need to model the behavior that, we want our kids to see us doing. So all of the things that we're speaking about, but it's also really great to see things modeled through other people in our life that we're, that we can really recognize, okay, that is a much more healthy approach to what I'm doing. Yeah. So I guess so much brilliant guidance and wisdom. And I guess my final question, you've already given so much for even that's relevant to single parents in our community. But if you had 3 top tips for single parents on how they, and kind of bearing in mind that not everyone feels they have the time or financial resource to sort of go to therapy. If there's 3 doable top tips.
Okay.
That people can use.
Love a doable top tip that is low energy and just completely accessible. I think my first one would be, if you find yourself feeling guilty or self-critical or not good enough, ask yourself, have I just acknowledged my humanness and my limited resources and my circumstances in the expectation that I've placed upon myself, or the expectation that's been coming at me? And I think where guilt, frustration, self-criticism sit is normally because you've overlooked your humanness. You've overlooked your limited capacity. You've overlooked your exhaustion. You've overlooked the fact that you've got all these needs coming at you. You've overlooked the stretched or kind of limited support network. So how can you reinsert humanness in the expectations that you place upon yourself? And that might look like, maybe you've been really short with the kids one evening, and you put them to bed and you've just got all this guilt and upset, just like, oh, I should have been better. It's like, okay, yeah, sometimes we act in a way that isn't ideal, but how can we add the humanness into this? You're frazzled. You didn't have anyone to tap out to. You've been working all day and you had to rush to pick up. Of course, you've got little left. So just add some compassion. The second one would be never overlook an opportunity for rest. I think we can prioritize the list and getting the list done, but the list will never end. You know that the to-do list never ends, but your resources do.
Yeah, it's like the washing. It's like the washing
oh my
pile.
Gosh.
Never ends.
It never ends. And then the kids, they carry on walking around wearing clothes. It's like you can just see the washing happening
in real time.
Yeah, so never overlook an opportunity to rest. And I imagine sometimes having a phone charger sticking out my backside. And I think, if our phone was on low and we were heading out for an hour, we wouldn't overlook a 2-minute chance to quickly get it some juice, would we, in case we needed it? For me,
true.
It's normally Google Maps. So, for yourself, just imagine you're plugging yourself in for 2 minutes when you take that break on the sofa. Just don't overlook those opportunities for rest. And I think the third thing is, maybe the phone grabbing. Next time you go to grab your phone, just ask yourself, what is it that I'm looking for? What is it that I need? And will I find it there? And it might be reassurance. It might just be the need to feel seen. And maybe you will. Maybe there's a page you want to go to. Maybe it's Frolo. You're feeling lonely. You're feeling overwhelmed. You go there and you feel seen. And actually that need is met in that place. But maybe that actually you're bored and you're going for a scroll and your nervous system is going to be bracing itself because you don't know whether you're going to see a cute cat or a traumatic, story that just sets you feeling really anxious. So if you're feeling bored, how else might you meet that, without going to the busiest place in the whole world? So those are 3 little tips there with the background noise of my kids tearing around and fighting. Downstairs.
I love it. Keeping it real. If there's anyone that can have compassion for a crying kid in the background, it's our listeners. So, Anna, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Such a valuable conversation, and I respect the work you're doing so much, and very, very much looking forward to reading your book.
And thank you. And I respect the work that you do so much. We have such a deep human need to feel seen and got. And you provide that for so many people that might otherwise look around at the setups in their immediate kind of friendship groups and think you don't get the challenges that I'm facing. So you provide that for people. And that is absolutely, that's really powerful. It's invaluable.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you for recognizing that. And I see the same for you. And most importantly, where can people find you? I'm sure lots of people listening already know about you, but in case someone is like, where can I find Anna? Where can I find her new book? I need it immediately.
Oh, thanks, Zoe. So it's just Anna Mathur on Instagram is where everything else comes, stems from. So that's where to go.
Perfect.
But thank you for having me.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Okay, you can go back to mothering and dominating your life. Thanks so much, Anna.
Thank you.
And that's a wrap for this week. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. If you did, then I have one small favour to ask. Please can you take a minute to subscribe to the Frolo podcast and give us a rating and review? This really helps other single parents who might benefit from it find us. The Frolo app, which is fully user verified for user safety, is available on the Google Play Store and the App Store, and you can find out more info and download links at www.frolo.com or follow us on Instagram at Frolo app. And you can purchase your copy of our book, How to Be a Happy Single Parent, at all the major book retailers. Until next time, have a great week.